Welcome back to Detroit Next. And today we're talking a lot about small business. Small business, as we know, is one of the key things that's bringing so much energy back to the city of Detroit. We have a wonderful guest, Jennyfer Crawford of All Things Detroit. How are you?
I am doing amazing, Kari. How are you?
Great, great. So, All Things Detroit, it is the largest marketplace in Detroit for a lot of small businesses and vendors.
hmm
How did it start? What was the inception? How did you put this together?
Well, you know what? I started All Things Detroit in my one-bedroom apartment 11 years ago. Was impressed by people who had a passion for doing what they love. They can make things with their hands. And I always felt like I really couldn't make anything. So it was kind of like my goal to be like their biggest cheerleader. So I took my rent money and bet on myself and invested in the Eastern market of renting the space. And now we promote 200 small businesses and we get about 12,000 customers in one day.
12,000 customers all coming into the city of Detroit, as we know. And you said 11 years. So you've seen this grow over
hmm
time. Over time, what energy has shifted as you've watched a lot of these small businesses and owners grow their businesses throughout this time?
I think it was a thing of just like at one point, I think people were really into like shopping local and being very intentional. And then at one point in time, I would say 2019, I saw it kind of die down a little bit of like just people not shopping local. And then we had the pandemic, and then they're very intentional again about shopping local, shopping small, because we are the backbone to the community, right? If there were no small businesses, like where would we be? And so I've been seeing it kind of go up and down. I see it now where people are like, I'm not going to the big box stores. I want to shop local. I want to invest in my community. And so for me, I just feel like it's super important that I create a platform where I'm putting people in front of thousands of customers. But I also want the business owner to feel like this is your event, right? People are coming to see you. I want them to seek you out. So that's why we really invest in a lot of the marketing and everything to promote all of the businesses that are there. It's not about Jennyfer and us bringing this together. We're our own street team. We're our own community. And I always say this all the time, and we've talked about this, is that anybody can have a pop-up where you sell tables and fill up a room. But if you're building community, it's a different thing. And that's what we do with All Things Detroit.
All right. Inside that community, we've seen national brands like really take off over so many things politically happening in Detroit, especially like Shinola. It's like whole brand was really built on a lot of what's happening in Detroit and how that's grown into many different things and diversified. But also a lot of small businesses have carried on some of these same traditions. The pandemic was tough for a lot of small businesses. What was that take, and how politically did you see a lot of the people respond to that as far as staying open during a tougher time?
The pandemic was really hard, but the crazy thing, Kari, is it seems like it's harder now than it was during the pandemic. Like I said before, people were intentional with shopping local. There was more funding available. There were grants available. People were trying to do the right thing. Oh, we have to support small business. We have to support community. And a lot of the politicians and different people were pushing the same narrative. And so, now it's a little bit harder. It's not the same. It's not the same funding that's available. It's not the grants that are available. And people are shifting, and they're not as excited, it seems like sometimes, or intentional. But I feel like people push that narrative when there is like something that they want you to do or to get them involved, but then like they kind of drop the ball on that. But small businesses now need it more than ever. We need people to come. People are closing every day, and it's a lot to reinvent yourself and be resilient. How many times can you do that, right? And do all these things. But I think that, a small business, their goal is to be a big business one day, right? And to have that ongoing things of happening. But it has been really hard and really tough. But I think it's harder now than it was during the pandemic.
So as you speak to that, during this time, you've also have, as they say, that brick and mortar. You have that storefront. One of the storefronts is definitely something that we've seen all mayoral candidates and a lot of city council candidates even speak to about like the barriers of entry of opening that business and all the things you have to go through. And not just you, but so many different people from different businesses.
Yes.
What are those steps of opening that business that is that brick and mortar in Detroit? How are the owners taking to that?
I think how they're taken to that is that it is difficult. And for people to speak on how difficult it is, but it's difficult because there's the processes that they put in place that make it difficult. And then also, too, they have to think about it. Some of these business owners have not been brick and mortar business owners before. They've never had a brick and mortar. So it's that education piece about knowing like all of the things that I need to have. But it is very difficult. It's the paperwork, it's the licensing, and it's also the time it takes to even get to your application, the time it takes to give you, that to get your business open. It's a lot. And they need to streamline these processes and make it a little bit easier. I'm not saying that they have to hold the hand and make it an education piece, but it definitely needs to speed up the process in a way that businesses are not taking 6 months, a year, because they're waiting on one piece of paper. And I see that a lot. I see miscommunication. I see, everything mixed up where people are completely confused to say, like, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that. Why can I open my business? And it's like, streamline these processes, make it easier and harder, because if there's no small business, then what are we, right? And so streamlining those processes, make it make sense, and not making it feel like there is like this big, huge thing that you have to do. I've got all the things on my checklist, right? What do I need to do next? Don't create something else for me that I need to do, because you should be happy that we want to open business here in the city of Detroit. And when you have a brick and mortar, it's hard, right? You want to get open. You have a lot of overhead costs. Even before you're opening, you do. And if you have all that, and then people are still sitting and they have all these processes and all of these things that are stopping you from, doing what it is you need to do, be clear and streamline those processes and let people know everything that they need to do to have their brick and mortar open.
So when you talk about the streamlined process, it's also like these safety barriers that a lot of
Yes.
people will speak to. And with that, this may take away from what we know as like that mom and pop shop that we think of growing up. Do you think you need that team of multiple attorneys, accountants, if you have that great idea, and, whether that be a t-shirt shop or a bakery, who needs to be probably on that team for that small business owner before they're even thinking about that brick and mortar? And how far-fetched could it become just to open up that store in their own neighborhood?
When you think about small business owners, they don't typically have a large team of attorneys and people who know all of this to help you get started. But there are programs, as we know, like Build Institute and Prosper Us and all of those things, or Business Alliance, where they have experts that can help you get through that. But I just think that, yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky thing. I just see it so much. There's two brick and mortars next to me that have been trying to open almost for 2.5 years, and it's not their fault, right? It's all of the process that they have to go through to do it. But having a team, it's great. But I feel like trying to really get into some of these programs where you can get technical services where they can educate you and kind of provide those services for you, because it's hard when you're overhead costs, opening the building. A lot of small businesses just cannot invest, and we don't have an attorney on standby, or, a construction manager on standby.
Okay. And then also, I really want to ask about foot traffic too. Having that brick and mortar, what is
Yes.
it like to bring foot traffic? Because we hear so much of the energy of what's happening in Detroit, what's happening in downtown Detroit, what's happening in the neighborhoods. What's going to be the foot traffic that a person can expect? What do you have to pour in to get that? What's the reality right now as far as the energy when you do, cut the ribbon?
When you do cut the ribbon and you actually get open, I feel like, in the beginning when you're opening, I mean, you're putting that marketing strategy where you're doing social, you're doing all these things. But the thing is, like, we can get open, but we got to stay open. And what I'm seeing in Detroit is, on game days, there's a lot of traffic downtown. And that's it. When it's game days, when it's holiday time, it's a different demographic and different people are coming. It's not the people who live in the city of Detroit that are coming to Detroit to patronize the businesses. It's the people who are outside of the city of Detroit who are infatuated with the changes and what's happening and the lights and everything. They're coming to shop. But also, that's on a special occasion. But those other 250, however many days out of the year, I want people to come and support and come down for dinner and do those things also. So it is a challenge. My business, my storefront, All Things Marketplace, is located in Corktown. It's a lot of development, but also the real estate and the cost. A 2-bedroom apartment across the street from my shop is $3,500. So that takes a certain type of person that can afford to stay in that place. But we want everybody to come shop with us. But the traffic, it can be hard. We do news, we do email blasts. I mean, sometimes I'm standing outside with a flag, Kari, saying, support my business, right?
Okay.
Because it's like we do whatever it is that we have to do. But I'm saying that it's really busy when there's something happening at the train station, or there's a Tiger game or a Lions game. But just for someone to say, we're going to come and spend the day in Detroit, most of the time it's when a special event is happening, like a concert or something.
Okay. What type of allegiance and collectives do you see possibly between like a lot of the businesses that you've seen over this time? I mean, 11 years, so many businesses have continued to stay as all things marketplace. I know just from going that
Hmm.
it's one of the places that I've been where people run out of what they sell.
Yes.
What type of collaborations are these owners working with together so that they can get that foot traffic, so they can grow? Have you seen that synergy develop?
I've seen it a little bit. I've seen the synergy and people being working together and collaborating just a little bit. And I feel like because we do all that we can do, right? I've seen where there's like a list of business owners where it's a directory. There's been, a scavenger hunt type of thing. So people are collectively trying to work together to generate that traffic and even doing shopping tours where they're saying you can hit here, hit here, hit here. And when people ask me what the answer is to, continue to work together for everyone to build traffic, I wish, I'm the superwoman and all, but I wish I knew the answer to like what that was and what that looks like. But I think that, collaboration is key. And I think that just coming up with some ideas and not doing things once together, but continuing the process and building in that way, it would work. But I don't know. I really
Mm.
don't know.
Do you think politically the city could provide some ideas? I remember years ago during the Kilpatrick administration, it was an initiative where it was like some city dollars where there were like some shared coupons for
Hmm.
businesses throughout like holiday markets. What ways, other than a lot of those barriers of entry, can you see possibly politically, pushing a lot of businesses to stay open?
I think one of the things that I've seen, and I've seen it a lot with the pandemic and just over time, I think that they come up with the campaigns and everything is like late, right? There's never like a strategy to say, like, in the beginning of the year, this is a full strategy for this entire year, and this is what we're putting together. This is what's going to happen. But putting someone in place that really has a passion and an initiative to really push small businesses forward and pretty go through with that strategy, not necessarily bringing someone in every single time that doesn't live in Detroit, who's not familiar, who doesn't know about Detroit, to actually have them do something. I've seen it so many times where there are qualified people here in the city to come up with a strategy where people can actually patronize these businesses and put a plan together.
Hmm.
And I haven't really seen that a lot.
Mm.
I've always seen them say, well, this person is coming from this. They are from New York and they've done this with, all these major brands. And it's like, who is that key person who is doing this for community, for small businesses that can come and put this strategy together? And the people up top just say, go and do your thing,
Mm.
approve it, here's the funding, let's go. That just gives someone $10,000 and say, hey, figure it out and do what you wish.
Mm.
Having someone help them out with that.
Which definitely goes into the lending opportunities. What relationships have the banks had with a lot of the small businesses that you've seen throughout the city of Detroit? What do you hear from a lot of the owners as far as those lending opportunities to grow their business or stabilize or just even have that line of credit?
Oh, Kari, why are you doing this to me today? No, no, no. So when I think about banks, I think that it's still the same. It is the same for a small business owner. It's hard for you to work with a bank and get a loan. It
Mm.
just is. That's where there's programs like Black Leaders Detroit and is it the Detroit Fund? Like certain things like that. I feel like that is the small business to go there first before they go to the bank. I haven't
Mm.
seen a lot. I mean, there's programs that the bank says they have. I've worked with Chase in the past. They have certain programs, but with the program with Chase to get funding or for them to help, you have to make $100,000 a year. Right? Some people feel like that's not a lot of money. But if I'm a person who's just starting out and I'm planning this and I need funding for my business, I'm not necessarily going to make $100,000 a year. So I feel like these restrictions of the bank, all these things that qualify for, it doesn't happen. And that's where these programs come into play because they're really looking at how to help you grow it and then also giving you technical assistance.
Okay, and I definitely have to ask from this lens too, because as you grow that business, when you get to that $100,000
Hmm.
and past that 100,000, another one of the key things always brought up from big business is the fact that the talent pool here is difficult sometimes to engage, and this may be also more of a national issue too. I don't think that this is just specific to the city of Detroit, but What is it like for a lot of the small businesses when it comes to staffing their business to make sure that they have the right proper support when they're doing the work and executing their dreams coming to life? What's the talent pool like inside the city of Detroit? What has been some of the most effective ways to grow a team?
Whew. Well, it is difficult also too with the staffing. I think that there's a lot of one of the things that I do is that there are small business owners who are looking to make extra money while they're running their business. So my business, I employ other small business owners
Huh.
part-time so that they can make money. I have staffing, they can make money, and they can also work on their business at the same time. That is something that has worked for me the best because it is difficult because everyone wants $25 an hour, right? And with the new taxes and all these things that you have to take care of when you have staffing, it is a lot. There's a certain amount that a small business owner just cannot pay. But I think that, it is hard. I mean, there are people where you really have to really streamline and put those job descriptions in place and know exactly what you're looking for. Because when a small business owner, when you work for one, sometimes you are the janitor, you're the cashier, you're doing all of that. And so people want to be paid for every last single one of those things, right? So, like I said, I feel like what works for me is employing people who know how it is to run a small business. And so they're like, hey, listen, I'm still working on my business. I make jewelry, but I need to pay my bills at the same time. And that's something that works for me. And I think that that is like a good option to do. But the talent pool here, I wouldn't say that it's bad. I just think that maybe that position that they're looking for,
Mm.
it's just not for them. But it can be difficult to find staff because you're not going to find someone who's going to work as hard for it as you do. And I just think that sometimes I know that the cost of living is expensive. So paying someone $20 to $25 an hour, it's not even in my budget also. So
Mm.
it can be difficult because people want to get paid a certain amount.
Mm. And as you talk about that now, I guess like the promising things that you've seen, because you've run markets with Beacon Park, you've also been in Campus Martius. What have you seen as far as like some of the things that have connected best over these 11 years, especially with all things Detroit? What has connected most to keep these small businesses thriving here?
I think the advertising, keeping a business thriving, I think, like I said, I go back to the programs, the ones with the funding, but just being resilient. What have I seen? I see people get up every single day and work and do what they have to do to keep their doors open, to feed their families. And I feel like they are doing what it is that works for them. Because when you say, what am I seeing in a way of what, though? I'm trying to get a little bit
More so just what's been the most effective things that you've seen in the growth of a lot of the small businesses in Detroit as you've witnessed?
uh, hmm, I feel like them just working through their business, figuring it out. I mean, that's really what I'm seeing, just
Mm.
people working hard, just people actually every single day getting that marketing plan together and working through their business. That's all I see is people really working hard to keep those doors open and doing everything they can, whether it's a marketing strategy, whether it's standing on the corner, where it's closing down their restaurant and having a food truck, right? So it's just they're doing what's the best for them in their business that they can still feed their family. If one business owner had a restaurant for 15 years during the pandemic, they didn't own the building, so they were pushed out because the rents were too expensive. So they purchased a food truck, and they've been thriving in their food truck because it cuts down on overhead costs. So I think people being resilient, I think them being able to actually pivot has really been the strategy that are keeping people going. Being resilient and pivoting.
With that, thank you so much, Jennifer. You've
Thank
given
you.
a lot of that insight of small business owners and being on Detroit Next. We have another segment still talking about this small business infrastructure. Thank you so much.
Detroit Next is a community-led project from Bridge Detroit and Detroit is Different, which means that we can't do this work without you. We need your support. If you have a question or a comment and want to participate in this process throughout the year, give us a call. We have a phone line set up at 313-284-6407. Leave us a message and we'll play it on the podcast. If you like what we're doing, head to bridgedetroit.com and subscribe to our newsletters. All of that content, again, is free, no paywalls for anybody. We're trying to make this as accessible as possible. Head to our YouTube channel to get full episodes and interviews along with extra content throughout the year. You can also find the audio version of this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and DetroitNext.podbean.com. We're going to be doing this all year long, so stay with us. Follow Bridge Detroit and Detroit is Different on your favorite social media platforms and take this ride with us. Thanks.